Bro, it is so hot, but I don't want to have my fan on and like ruin the video. So if I pass out, this is on y'all. And in case anybody's wondering, this is not the same blonde wig. It's my last video. This is a new blonde wig, but I always went blonde. So anyways, today I'm going to be doing my July wrap up. Before we get started with the video, this video is sponsored by Book of the Month. Book of the Month is a super popular, fast online book service for readers. Their mission is to promote new and emerging authors and to help readers discover new books. Their team vets hundreds of books each month and gives readers their choice of new and emerging authors and gives readers their choice from a curated selection of new and early release titles. So you can spend more time reading and less time researching. Book of the Month is risk-free. You can skip any month at any time and you will not be charged. They have the best new release hardcover fiction. You can get your first book for $9.99 using the code Mariana. And I'm going to leave the link to Book of the Month and the code in the description. And I'm now going to get into the Book of the Month choices for this month. So the first book we have is The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina. And this book is a fantasy book. At their merchant's funeral, Montoyas receive a truly magical inheritance. But with great riches comes great enemies. The next book is Once There Were Wolves, and this is a contemporary fiction. A woman journeys to Scotland determined to save the wilderness, but the tragedy bites just as her new life starts to settle. The next book is a thriller, and I actually have read this book and I actually really enjoyed it. I do enjoy Sherry Lapina as a thriller author. This one is a thriller and it is about this family, and the mom and the dad die and everyone suspects it's one of the 3 kids. The next book is Damnation Spring, and this one has such a pretty cover. And this one is a literary fiction, a moving portrait of a family struggling to make ends meet in a logging town divided over the fate of its forest. And now for the book in the blue box. It is the most anticipated release, The Heart Principle. And this book is a 3P author. All the other books to this series is also on Book of the Month. I've already read it. It's The Heart Principle, and this is the 3rd book in the Kiss Quotient series, and it is about Kwan, who we all love from the first 2 books. Thank you to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video, and once again I will leave the link to Book of the Month plus the code in the description. And now on to the rest of the video. In July, I read exactly 20 books. I was kind of in a bit of a reading slump this July, which is so funny because I made a tweet about like, I don't understand how people get in a reading slump, and then I got into a reading slump. Yeah, so this wasn't like my best reading month, but I got to watch a lot of TV shows, and I've been watching like the iCarly reboot and the Gossip Girl reboot, and Outer Banks season 2 came out, and then Fear Street also came out this month. So TV show wise and movie wise, I've been doing great. But you know, sometimes you gotta sacrifice books for some other stuff, so that's totally fine. So let's just get started. I read a lot of YA thrillers. I read 7 Fear Street novels because, like I said, I watched the Fear Street movies, the trilogy, and you know, if you guys, I mean, you should know because I talk about how much I love slashers in like every video, but I love horror movies, specifically slashers, and Fear Street was everything to me. Me and my sister watched every Fear Street every single Friday because we both love watching slashers together, and it was so good, so I had to watch the movies. The movies aren't directly based off the books. I know they are selling the first 4 books in one bind up, but there's only one book in that book that is actually like a Fear Street book. But every Fear Street book, there's something taken from like that. So let me just get started. So I read The New Girl, which is the first Fear Street book, and this one was 2 stars because the main guy, so basically this is about this new girl who comes along, and at first you start to think that she's a ghost because nobody else sees her and all this stuff. But I didn't like it because this one was written from the perspective of a guy, and it just felt really weird because he was weirdly obsessed with her. This man was talking about he was in love with her and he hadn't had a single conversation with her, so it was just really weird because he didn't know her and he was just like really obsessed with her. It was like it was giving creepy, not gonna lie. So then the second one I read was The Surprise, and this one, the motivations of the first movie was based off this one, and this one was, oh, these are all on Kindle Unlimited, by the way. I think As of when I read them, they were. They still should be low-key though. So the surprise is basically about, yeah, the book is about this girl and her best friend moves away, and so they throw a party and it's to bring her best friend back. So the movie kind of follows that, where the main love interest moves away and then they go visit that town that they moved to. Then you have the third book, The Overnight. Missing. The Overnight, I literally forgot what The Overnight was about, not gonna lie. But Missing was the one where their parents were missing. And I gave this one 4 stars because this one reminded me of a Goosebumps ending. Like, it really has something similar to Goosebumps. And then The Wrong Call, which is where they got Dina's name from. And this one is when they're prank calling people. Then they end up doing this prank call and they end up hearing someone being murdered. And then you have 99 Fear Street, which this one's a paranormal one. I gave that one 3 stars because I don't really care about paranormal. And then you have The Prom Queen, which is based off these girls who are all in the running to be prom queen and they're all getting killed off, and I gave that one 3 stars. So for Fear Street, if you do want to read these are kind of juvenile, so you kind of have to go, like, if you watch Fear Street, you're not going to get that from this. But if you want to get like where they got the ideas for certain Fear Streets from, or even Fear Street itself, because I find Fear Street very interesting, and I just love like Sunnydale versus Shady Side, and I just love everything about Fear Street, and I really hope that they continue on with like the movies. But I want to read a good majority of the books because the director said that she did want to do more, and she wants to make it like a Marvel universe with like, not a Marvel, but like a Marvel universe with like trilogies and stuff like that, how they all link together. So I'm gonna try to read as many as I can, so that way when they come out, like, I'll already know like, oh, this one was inspired by this one and this one was inspired by this one. I just like knowing things, okay? I like reading things before other people, especially because the Fear Street books, I'm slowly collecting them, and you'll see that in my August haul. I'm slowly collecting them, and there's so many, and I kind of got scammed for 2 of them. It wasn't really a scam, but it kind of was a scam. And then I read One of Us Is Lying, which I gave 3.5 stars, which this one is, it was a really popular book on BookTube when I first joined BookTube, but it also became really popular on BookTok. And I read this one because one of my BookTok friends, Kimmy Reads, loves this book, so, and she said there was a good romance in this book, so I read it, and the romance was good. It's about these 5 people who are in detention, and then one of them dies. So at first everyone was like, that's weird, but then they start to suspect that it's one of the 4, and they all have to like come together to figure out who it is, because they know it's not either of them, but they're also suspicious of each other. And I personally thought it was good. We're gonna get into spoilers here. Not really, I'm not gonna go deep into spoilers, but if you want to know what I'm gonna say, like, you know, you can just skip this part on to the next section, because this is my last book for this section, so you can just skip to the next section. Okay, so basically somebody said that the end of this book has like, the plot twist had to do with mental health. The plot twist had to do nothing with mental health at all, and that's why I didn't read the book, because I don't like when people do that. Riley Sager does it kind of a lot though. This book is similar to like a Riley Sager book in the sense where like they kind of hint at mental illness, and you start to think that mental illness is a thing that's gonna happen, but it's not. And the person who when I didn't want to, well, a lot of people actually was like, oh yeah, the book, like, it uses mental health as like the plot twist. And personally, to me, I don't think that mental health has to do anything with the plot twist. Like, he had depression, but that he just had depression. It had nothing to do with the plot twist. Like, those 2 things are very separate, and I don't know how people read that and got that, because I read it and didn't get that. The plot twist was weak, yeah, but whatever. I am going to be reading One of Us Is next, because it follows the sister that of the first plot, and I just love like Bayview in general. But now we're going to get into new adult romance, which I only read 1 series this month. So I read the Madison Kate series. So the first book is Hate, second book is Liar, third book is Fate, and the last book, I actually don't know the title was because I wrote Hate twice like an idiot. But I gave the first book 5 stars, second book 4 stars, third and fourth book 3 stars, because y'all know how I am when I'm reading a romance series. If it's more than 3 books, the books are slowly going to derail. So yeah, the first book was really good. The second book was good too, but I just noticed that this book could have just been a duology, maybe a trilogy, but the author was pushing it by making it 4 books, because there's this, oh, I gotta tell you what the book is about. So the book is about this girl named Madison Kay, and she is framed for murder. So she has to move away for a year, and she comes home and she realizes that her dad married the mom of one of the guys who framed her for murder. And it is a reverse harem book, so she's involved with all of them. But there's also like this weird stalker plot line that's in this book, and instead of resolving it in the first book, it's dragged out to the 4th, and it's just really dragged out. And it's not like finding out who it was, like, it was just a waste of time. Like, it wasn't like all that build up just for it to be the person who it was just so whack. But I did like this book, and I do like the writing, and the author has another series in the same world. So it's called Hades, but it's not a Hades retelling, which I'm so tired of Hades retellings. So which is so crazy because I was begging for them last year and I got them, but none of them live up to what I want them to be, so authors can keep them. But Hades and Persephone's agenda aside, I read 2 Taylor Jenkins Reid books. And okay, I know I said I would never read a Taylor Jenkins Reid book, but I wanted to read her backlist because I don't like her historical books. I know that for sure. Like, I'm not reading Malibu Rising, but I did go back to read her backlist romance books. And if Taylor Jenkins Reid ever gets back into writing romances, like regular and present day contemporary romances, I will tap into it. So I read One True Loves, and this one I gave 3 stars. It's about this girl, and basically her husband dies and she ends up falling in love with one of her high school crushes, and then lo and behold, her husband, who she thought was dead, comes back. So now she has to choose which one of them she wants to be with. And I love this plot line. This is a typical telenovela plot line. It was one of my favorite plot lines in 90210 that comes in like the later seasons once they, you know, get out of high school. Oh my gosh, I'm currently watching 90210 right now, so if I reference anything in like the next few videos, it's because I'm rewatching 90210. Like, that was my favorite. Like, I loved Gossip Girl growing up, like in high school, but 90210 was like over Gossip Girl for me. Anyways, 90210 agenda aside, I love like the whole like dead love coming back to life, have to choose between your new love, old love. If anybody has, I know there are some books out there, so if anybody has some recommendations for those kind of books, please give it to me now. I need it like I need air to breathe, okay? So the next Taylor Jenkins books I read was After I Do, and this one I absolutely loved. I have to go read, I think she has 1 or 2 more, but I have to because this one was so good. So this one was about this couple, and it's a second chance romance marriage trope, which I am finding out I love. And I actually did a TikTok recommendations video for this, and I recommended some second chance marriage books. But if you guys want me to do a video on it, I can try to find more, because it's easy to recommend certain tropes on TikTok if you only have like 3 books versus recommending them on BookTube, because I like my videos to be long so people can like have snacks when they watch. But this one is about this girl and this guy, and they've been together since college, like her freshman year in college, and they just decide that they're losing love. Like, they're always arguing, they're always getting to know each other. So they decide to take a year off of dating, a year off of their marriage, and they are going to be apart and see if that helps them grow back together. And I like this book because it had a really good jealousy scene, and I thought it was like really cute and good in general, but I love me a good jealousy scene, so, and it had that. It was so good. And then the next book I read was A Spanish Love Deception. Do y'all see how big this book is? Like, 400 pages for a romance book is so uncalled for, but this book was so good, it wasn't really uncalled for. And I actually like how the author did this book, because Mariana Zapata, a reason why I don't read Mariana Zapata books is because they're so big and they're slow burn. Like, they're typically 500 pages, and it's so slow burn. And I do like slow burn, but sometimes I just need to be like in a mood for that kind of big of a slow burn, right? So this one is paced very well. Like, it's about this girl, Kat, or does she go by Lena? I think she go by Lena, though I think people should go by the name Kat when their name is Kat, Catherine or Catalina or whatever. But her name is Kat, and she goes by, her name is Catalina, and she goes by Lena. And then there's Aaron Blackford, the best romance love interest since Peter Kavinsky, okay? So Lena, she has to go to Spain for a wedding because her sister is marrying her ex's brother. So of course her ex will be there. I think her ex either broke up with her or cheated on her. So she doesn't want to go to Spain to this wedding with no date, you know, and have her ex-boyfriend one up her. And so Aaron Blackford is offering to go and be her date, and she's like, no, you can't go. So first half of the book is him like offering and her being like no, and then she finally gives in and they go to Spain together, and it's so cute. He has the best one-liners. The smut the smut. So the next genre I have to talk about is adult fantasy, and I only read 2 of these. So one of the books I read was The Bone Maker, and this one is about, there are different types of people who can control bone. There's a person who can, I forgot the system, but there's different types of people who can control bone and like stuff like that. And there's a person who's a bone maker. Now with bones, you can only, back in the day, how many years ago was it? 25 years ago, there was this group of people and they defeat this evil guy who was a bone maker. And then one of them ends up dying, who's the husband of the main character. So you start off the book with her hunting for bones, and she just found out this kid died, so she stole the bones, and you're like, hold on, what the hell? And then she goes and basically resurrects her husband, but it only lasts for a few hours. So so she realized that she needs stronger bone. So she gets back in touch with the old people that she used to work with, and they're going on this journey to get the bones so that she can help her husband stay alive. Now, it doesn't come that easy to her. That's why this book is so big. But I like this book. I gave it 3 stars. I think it's just like, I like the found family trope, but I think I would have liked it more if I read about how they became a found family. And I did like the characters in this book. There's one character particularly who is like really sassy and like funny, and I like that. And the book already starts off with her married, so it's like I couldn't care about the romance. I did like the world, but there are some things that are like easily forgettable and some things I forgot about. But other than that, I do think this is a good book, and it's an underrated book, so I do recommend it. And so the next romance I read was A Heart of Blood and Ashes. I had to make sure because there's so many honey and blood and flame and frost, so many of those titles, okay? But of A Heart of Blood and Ashes, I gave 4 stars, and this is a fantasy romance book. It is about this guy whose parents are killed by another kingdom, and so he goes to that kingdom and he takes their daughter, and he's like, yes, she's gonna marry me because I'm gonna get revenge on you. And the daughter's actually offering herself. She's like, yeah, I know what to do to like, you should marry me and impregnate me so that I make them mad. And he's like, why should I trust you? Like, you had my mother killed. She's like, no, I loved your mom. Like, she was like a mom to me. My family treats me terrible. So she's on his side because her family treats her bad, but he does not want to trust her or believe her because they killed his family. And I personally really liked this book, and I thought it was cute. But it's just like also a typical like enemies to lovers book. Like, it didn't bring anything new to the table, but I still like what they had done with the book. And then I have for sci-fi. So for sci-fi, I have Empire of Silence, which is I gave 3.5 stars to. I still really enjoyed the book. It was so long and so fun. So it's kind of hard to explain what it's about because it's about this guy, and I'm going to explain this in the very simplest way because since I read so much in a month, sometimes plot lines are hard to explain when it's like a fantasy book or a sci-fi book because they have very specific words and world building. But I'm just going to simplify it. So there's this guy who wants to be something, but he comes from a family, like a hierarching family, and it's basically below his family to become that thing. But he wants to do it because he knows that he's not going to be like the next like leader within his family, and he knows his younger brother is because his dad favors him. So he wants to be something else, and his dad doesn't want him to. So he basically goes against his dad to be this thing because he found out like his dad is basically evil, and he's slowly realizing this. And I like the book. I thought it was really good. I do want to continue on to the next book. Usually when I give books 3 stars, I don't know how long it's going to take me to get to a next book, but I gave this one 3.5 stars because I do want to read the next book soon, because I feel like this is one of those books where it gets better as you read it. Not that it was bad, but I'm really excited to move on to the next book. So I read Dead Witch Walking, and I read the first and second book. The second book was called The Good, the Bad, and the Undead, because I say this like usually every fall, but I do want to get into urban fantasy more. So if you guys want to recommend me some urban fantasy books, don't recommend me dude, there's one book that I've already read that I've read like 3 books of and I didn't like it, and it's really popular. I think it's called Mercury Thompson or something like that. Yeah, don't recommend me that. Recommend me some. So Dead Witch Walking, first of all, I'm obsessed with this cover. It's nothing really amazing about these covers, but urban fantasies have, like, when they're not ugly, they do have some really pretty covers, and like those are the only covers I accept people on them because I really like the art for them. But Dead Witch Walking is basically about this girl who's a witch, and she has to work for these people, and you can't really get out of this contract, but she finds a way to get out of this contract, and now she's working like solo, and she has a vampire best friend, which really was queer baiting. Like, I am not one to call out queer baiting, but this book, this was really queer baited, okay? The vampire is a girl, and in some scenes I was like, and then she has a fairy, like a little, well, it's not a fairy, but it's like a fairy, and the book was really crazy. Like, a lot of stuff happens in this book. Like, she ends up being turned into like a rat, and the villain of the series kidnaps her and puts her into a rat fight, and then she finds this other person who's a rat, and then she ends up being turned, they end up escaping, and she turns into a human, and then it finds out that he was turned into a human, and some crazy stuff happened in this book. There's like this demon in here who would conjure her worst fear, and it turns out her worst fear is the vampire roommate. And oh my gosh, like a lot of stuff went on in this book, but like really fun, good stuff. Like I really enjoyed this book. And then the second book I gave 3 stars just because the queer baiting, first of all, the boyfriend in that book was just so bland. Like I really hope that she gets like a better boyfriend, because it was just like very bland. And the main character is really like she's like a badass main character, but she puts herself into really stupid situations and she doesn't really think all the way through, and that becomes really annoying after a while. So in the third book it kind of did annoy me, and I realized that I need to take a break before reading these books. So yeah, I am going to take a break before reading the third book, but I do want to continue on with this series because I do like it and I like the characters, and it was like really funny and a quick audiobook to listen to. But yeah, those are all the 20 books that I read this month. So thank you for watching, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.